Good. Okay. All right. Well, let's call to order the Board of Waterworks Trustees meeting for February 24th, 2026. First off, thank you again to David for covering for me last month. That was great. He jumped right in and allowed me to get the Iowa winner a little bit. So I really appreciate that. We're going to start out with the item 1, which is our consent agenda today. And that we have minutes from the January 27th, 2026 Board of Waterworks Trustees meeting, the minutes from the February 3rd Finance and Audit Committee meeting, minutes from the February 10th Planning Committee meeting, list the financial statements, list of payments for January 2026, summary of CEO approved expenditures in excess of $50,000, and our next meeting date, which is March 24th, 2026. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
I just had a correction to the minutes of the Finance and Audit Committee meeting. Should include the new members of that committee, which are myself and Diane. I believe Alec was on that meeting as well.
I was part of the call, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
You want to probably maybe give an update on the financials real quick?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right, for 2026, we've revised and updated the financial statements. This is a different financial package than you've been used to seeing. I've increased the comments page to present a more detailed analysis of the financial results. A few highlights to point out. We received the capital funds from CIWW in the amount of $74.4 million, and those were received on January 27th. Bankers Trust has provided an investment strategy based on our planned usage of these funds that we will be reviewing next week. This strategy is based on our intended use of the funds to support capital projects over the next 10 years. You may notice that our interest-bearing cash account has been lower than it has been in the past. Our checking account balance at the end of January was $5.8 million. At this time last year, that balance was $19.9 million. We are actively managing our cash on hand so that we can maximize our investment return. We have the ability to draw on our money market account and receive the funds within a day, so we're leaving those funds invested at the higher interest rate. The last draw from our money market account was on December 11th. For our investment policy, we are to keep a balance in our operating reserve investments to be able to cover 3 months of operating expenses. For 2026, this is estimated to be $15,170,000. So this week, we transferred $470,000 from our excess operating investments to the operating reserve so that this balance is available. We paid our pilot the annual fee to the city of Des Moines in January, and this was $1.39 million. This payment occurs in January every year, and our monthly budget reflects this. Water sales for January were within $88,000 of budget, and we were over $500,000 greater than we were compared to January of last year. Consumption between January of the 2 years was fairly consistent, so this increase is due mostly to our increase in rates. Our chemicals expense was greater than budget in January due to additional costs related to running the nitrate facility. But overall, due to some timing issues, our overall operating expense was less than budget by $251,000. We were more aggressive this year when we budgeted our 2026 investment income, and our January investment income is very close to what we budgeted. With the addition of the $74.4 million in capital investment funds this week, our investment income will likely exceed the monthly budget as the year progresses. Due to paying the pilot fee in January, we had budgeted for a net change in earnings for January of a negative $665,000. Our actual change was a negative $417,000, so this was $248,000 better than budget.
You? Sorry, I forgot that we were doing that.
Right.
But I find that helpful, so yes, thank you. All right. That then, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, opposed. We will move on to the public comment period. If you are here in the room today or online and would like to wish to make public to the board, this would be your time.
It's just
Anyone in the room that would make a comment? So we can move on to our Des Moines Waterworks action items, which is starting with item A, the Raccoon Valley Little League Incorporated Agreement for the use of Waterworks Park properties.
Thank you, Alec. Des Moines Waterworks has had a long-standing lease with Raccoon Valley Little League that allows the club to use about 30 acres of land in the western part of our park. This, before you today, is a 3-year renewal of the lease that extends through the end of 2028. We've recently done some analysis and found that $100 an acre is in line with the market, which the club also found acceptable. So we have used that new rate in this agreement. The land is accessed from Park Avenue and has relied for many years on access via an adjacent property owner's property or a business along Park Avenue. And if you turn to the map in the packet, you can see that access is denoted by a thin rectangular shape. So that's how the club has previously accessed it. We've recently been working with the club on some access conversations related to the land, and those conversations are ongoing. The lease makes it clear that Des Moines Waterworks isn't responsible for access to the property. And although we've been supporting them in these discussions, we believe that and hope that those will be resolved soon. We need to go ahead and proceed with the lease or the agreement so that they have it for the start of their season. This agreement is consistent with other land agreements that we manage. We would ask the board to authorize the execution of this 3-year agreement with the Raccoon Valley Little League.
All right, can I have a motion to authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the Raccoon Valley Little League Incorporated Agreement for use of Waterworks property for a 3-year term to expire on December 31st, 2028.
So moved. Second.
If the Little League does, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if they do fold, what are the implications for this lease? I'm thinking specifically about maintenance of the property. Does that revert to us?
That would revert back to us. And the language does provide for termination and out clauses.
Amy, is this land in floodplain?
I believe it is in the floodplain, yes.
I don't know if it flooded. If it has flooded.
There is language in the agreement related to flooding that the club understands that and is responsible for any cleanup and maintenance and that sort of thing.
I would imagine it's flooded many times over 70
Mhm.
years.
Yeah.
And then I know you talked about this yesterday when we were meeting. What's the timeline on this potential access that they're trying to negotiate?
It's difficult to say.
Okay.
We're closely monitoring.
Hopefully they can get, we're hoping for them and being a little bit out there. So
The season is coming upon us.
it is. Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
I
Any opposed? We'll move on to item B, which is the $6 million water revenue capital loan notes, series 2026A state revolving fund loan, lead service line replacement, phase 1, batch 1.
Good job. It's a mouthful. This next action is for a project we've talked a lot about recently, and that's our lead service line replacement program. We have applied for state revolving fund funding for just over $12 million for the replacement of 1,000 lines, which we are calling our phase 1 project. We held a public hearing on this borrowing at our August 2025 board meeting. We're further splitting this phase 1 of 1,000 lines into 2 separate batches so that we can manage them each contract differently or separately. Batch 1 is the Drake project in the area between 17th and 28th Street, I-235 and University Avenue. And this is the project we've talked a lot about recently. It's about 400 lines and the estimated borrowing is $6 million, which is this specific action before you today. We have around 250 customers signed up for replacements in this area. And our contractor consultant is canvassing the neighborhood this week to try to get that remaining 100 to 150 customers to sign up if they're eligible for this program. So this action today authorizes this first batch of $6 million loan. Of this $6 million loan, 49% will be forgiven, and the remaining 51% will be paid by Des Moines Waterworks in annual payments. The good news is it's very favorable financing terms, 0% for 30 years. You don't find that very many places. So we'll be bringing batch 2, which is the remaining of that $12 million back to the board for approval later this year. So we would request the board adopt the attached resolution authorizing the loan, and a roll call vote is required.
Seeking a motion to adopt the resolution approving and authorizing a form of loan and disbursement agreement by and between the city of Des Moines, Iowa and the Iowa Finance Authority, and authorizing and providing for the issuance and securing payment of $6 million water revenue capital loan notes series 2026A of the Des Moines City of Des Moines, Iowa, under the provisions of the Code of Iowa, and providing for a method of payment of said notes.
So moved.
Second. I'm trying to get this straight. So there's 2 phases, but in the first phase, there's 2 batches.
We do, it is confusing. We do have 2 phases on the state's intended use plan. One for about 12 million and one for about 14 million. Set aside the 14 million, the phase 2. Within that phase 1, that very first one, yes, we further subdivided into 2 batches.
Okay. And so when will the 14 million one, the phase 2, and do we have the money for that?
It is available. We have been approved for the intended use plan. And so, this year we'll focus on this 400 replacements. We probably likely could get started on the next batch. But probably a lot of that work will be done next year. And then next year we'll start the second batch of phase 1. Hopefully we can speed it up so we get more than one batch done in a given year. But like anything, when you're starting out, we're organizing and getting all of our details and workflows worked out. So
when you say that the money is available, once we use this 6 million, there's additional funding
yes,
to continue with those next batches.
yeah, there's an additional 6 million in this phase, and then the next phase is 14 million. We are applying for an additional phase. We're trying to really leverage and take advantage of this money while it's still available. And so we'll be submitting that this week for another phase.
Is there on this phase 1, batch 1, so we're spending 6 of the 12 million to do 400, and then it's 1,000 total. So
How's that work?
basically, yeah, my question.
There are some startup costs in this phase, or in this phase 1, batch 1, related to a preliminary engineering review that we won't have in the second batch for this phase.
So we do expect the cost for replacement to be lower.
We expect it to right size, yes.
Okay.
An exciting time.
We have a motion and a second, and I think we need a roll call vote on this one.
Ms. Bolton,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Ms. Munns,
Yes.
Very much.
Yes.
On to item C, and you're right, that wasn't it's like almost a child again being complimented for good reading skills. That one was, whew. All right, item C, the request for authorization to reimburse the city of Des Moines for water main replacement for East Court Avenue reconstruction from East 7th to East 14th Street.
The city of Des Moines has a street project along East Court from East 7th to East 14th. Whenever we can, we like to coordinate these projects to save cost and disruptions to customers and avoid conflict with city infrastructure. This city project is also in phases. It's 2 phases. The first phase was completed in 2024 and covered East Court from the river to East 7th Street. So we'd again like to coordinate the second phase with the city of Des Moines, which is what today's action item is. The water main in this area is from the late 1800s. It's 6-inch cast iron. We see a fair number of breaks in this area. So we'd like to replace this with 8-inch main to reduce the potential for main breaks, just to avoid conflicts with city infrastructure. Construction will start this spring and our main replacement is anticipated to be completed by May 2027. Our estimated responsibility for the project is around $410,000, although final prices will depend on actual quantities that are used as part of the contract. We request permission to reimburse the city of Des Moines for this water main work completed as part of their street project.
To authorize staff to reimburse the city of Des Moines for the main water replacement included in the East Court Avenue reconstruction from East 7th to East 14th Street project.
So moved.
I have any other real question. Seems straightforward on this one, so. I guess, so they would actually bid and select the contractor on this, right?
That's correct. They have selected
Yeah,
Riley.
yeah. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? On to item B, 2024 Des Moines Water Main Replacement Contract number 4. This is the public hearing.
This is a public hearing.
All right, so let's try this out for me. All
We're here
right,
for you.
so I'll open the public hearing for comments from the public regarding the form of contract plans and specifications and estimated cost.
We have received no written or oral comments.
Okay, I don't see anyone in the room here to speak to that today, so we will go ahead and close the public hearing. And I will seek a motion for the adoption of formal contract plans and specifications and estimated cost.
So moved.
Second.
Then we vote and then we announce. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now let's have some analysis of this.
Okay. This water main replacement project is one that we requested permission to solicit bids and set the public hearing for last month. There are several project locations noted in your board materials, including Valura Parkway, Lower Beaver Road, East Columbus Avenue, and Southeast 6th Street. That Southeast 6th Street component includes sidewalk construction on behalf of the city of Des Moines. The project includes replacing mains 6 to 12 inches in diameter, installing new valves and hydrants in the area and related work. The engineer's estimate for this project was $3.68 million. We received 2 bids. On-track construction for $3,602,954. Rognus for $3,665,014. On-track construction submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid. The city will reimburse Des Moines Water Works for that sidewalk portion along Southeast 6th, approximately $250,000. Staff recommends the board award this project to On-Track Construction in the amount of $3,602,954.
I have a motion to award the 2024 Des Moines Water Main Replacement Contract number 4 contract to On-Track Construction LLC in the amount of $3,602,954 and authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Anything to note on this one? It seems good bids. Below estimate. I at least pretty sure I recognize the on-track name. So
Yes, we
I
have
think
used them
use
before.
them quite a bit. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will move on to item number E. 2025 Des Moines Water Main Replacement Contract number 1.
Also a public.
Public hearing. All right, so at this time, I will open the public hearing for comments from the public regarding the form of contract plans and specifications and estimated cost.
We have received no written or oral comments.
Seeing no one in the room, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And I will seek a motion for adoption of the form of contract plans and specifications and estimated cost.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, for the bid.
Public hearing for this main replacement project, or setting the date of public hearing, was done last month by the board. There are several locations for this project as well, including portions of River Oaks Drive, Brentwood Drive, Southwest 42nd Street, Oak Forest Drive, and Muskogee Avenue. We are replacing mains, as we often do, due to age, history of main breaks, and just general service reliability concerns. We'll be replacing the mains here in this area, these areas with 8-inch PVC and ductile iron, plus all the related work related to valves and hydrants and so forth. For this bid, for this project, rather, we received 4 bids on track for $2,687,738. Corel for $3,246,630. Pierce Tobin for $3,561,225, and Rognus, $3,882,668. The engineer's estimate was higher at just under $3.5 million. So again, some good bids. On Track Construction once again submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid. Staff recommends the board award this project to On Track Construction in the amount of $2,687,738.
Can I have a motion to award the 2025 Des Moines Water Main Replacement Contract 1 contract to On Track Construction LLC in the amount of $2,687,738 and authorize the chairperson, CEO, and general manager to execute the contract?
So moved.
Second.
Good numbers, I guess, on this one too. Is there, I mean, this one's a bigger delta than we saw for prior. Any reasons we think that this is coming in that much lower than our estimate?
On Track has better pricing, several components of the project. And this is something that we've seen over several projects. So it's not isolated to this one compared to the other bidders.
Okay.
We did reach out to contact just to make sure they were comfortable with their bid.
Great.
Lindsay, do we have any policy around, seeing as that we are awarding these two to one contract, do we have any policy around concentration of procurement, that we don't have too many eggs in one basket with anybody?
Don't believe so.
Never been an issue.
Never been an issue that I recall.
No, and On Track's been working on other projects and we're really happy with their performance.
Okay.
So don't really have concerns.
I would just add that as the board, you do have discretion to award the contract to what you believe is in the best interest of the waterworks. I'm not suggesting that you don't do it here, but that would allow you to consider things other than price in the award of the contract if you ever decided you wanted to do that.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right along to item F on this agenda, modification of the water area 28E agreement.
You might recall the board authorized a 28E agreement for the construction and maintenance of Water Curia. It's been several months ago, last August, and that was subject to final review and approval by staff and legal counsel of cost and design specifications. Since that time, we've been working with the Stowe Foundation and their consultants on finalizing the details of the design and costs. And in these discussion, additional language has been identified that we believe would be helpful clarification related to alterations and licensing of water curia. I noted in the board memo that the agreement would be redlined, and I apologize, that's not the version that I grabbed. So if you look on page 3 of that agreement, section 2 titled license was added, which essentially says that the foundation will assign Des Moines Waterworks a license copyright for use of water curia. And then also section 5 was added, alterations. And the change that is primarily that I want to draw your attention to in this section states that Des Moines Waterworks cannot alter water curia without the permission of the Stowe Foundation and the artist, Jordan Weber, as long as a maintenance fund exists. The previous agreement talked about if the maintenance fund didn't exist, but it didn't specify if the maintenance fund exists, that the artist must give permission and the Stowe Foundation must give permission before any alterations are made. So we believe that this is a good clarification to avoid potential misunderstandings later. And then the bill of sale is also an exhibit that incorporated that relevant language to ensure that it's consistent throughout that agreement. So we would recommend approval of these modifications to this 2080. It has not yet been executed because, as I mentioned, we've been working through the final design review and costs. So this approval would be once again subject to review by staff and legal counsel. And then it would allow the CEO and general manager to sign. Also included is a 10-year maintenance plan of costs. 10-year plan of maintenance costs, which was not included in the previous version.
The other thing that, if I can interject, the other thing it does, we added Jordan, the artist, to the signature, to be a signature on the bill of sale, so that, the transfer is made to Des Moines Waterworks upon completion, as well as he is a signature to the actual agreement as it applies to those two new added paragraphs, the licensing and the alterations. Want to make sure it's clear with him that what his obligations are to approve things or to agree to things.
I'd like to recognize Amy Beatty and her team. We've been working with them, and she shared that they are excited to start construction soon this spring and hopefully have it done by August. So coming soon.
Okay, can I have a motion to authorize the chairperson to execute the revised Chapter 2080 agreement for construction and maintenance of water curia between the Board of Waterworks Trustees of the City of Des Moines, Iowa, and the William G. Stowe Foundation, subject to final review and approval by staff and legal counsel?
So moved.
Second.
I have questions. So, with the license then, if Des Moines Waterworks obtains the ownership, if Des Moines Waterworks receives the license and it is a perpetual non-transferable worldwide license for any derivative work, then would the Waterworks Park Foundation be able to create anything with of the any derivative work of the water curia? So if the license then allows Des Moines Waterworks to make a t-shirt, but not necessarily the Park Foundation, who would actually be more interested in doing any type of use of the image.
I'm going to phone a friend and defer to John.
Well, so I'm not a copyright expert, but talking to the copyright attorney in our firm, I think there's a question as to whether an image is a derivative work, particularly if it's an image of, the park and the monument is there. I don't know exactly what the Park Foundation might contemplate if they would make, what I had in mind was perhaps you might make little statuettes and hand those out at the Water Academy or something like that. I don't know if the Park Foundation would do anything like that. Maybe Amy has perspective from the Stowe Foundation.
Not had any conversation with the Park Foundation about that, but my thought would be, since you're the owner and you will have the license, that anything they would do would require, at the very least, require your approval to do so, or you grant them the ability to use that image. I think you're going to have control over it.
Well, the way it's drafted, it's non-transferable. Perhaps we could amend it to provide that the Park Foundation could be assigned rights by Waterworks if Jordan and the Stowe Foundation agreed to that, then I think that would resolve the issue pretty clearly. And you could either make your motion to approve it subject to that revision. Or, I think we understand that that's, maybe you had that in mind.
That could be something we could clean up.
Mhm.
Sure. Yeah, because just that non-transferable, Waterworks wouldn't be able to get permission.
Yeah,
There's
no,
a
I
way
think, my assumption is the Stowe Foundation would be fine with that, but
Yeah, make the distinction between transfer. I think we'd still want you to have complete control, but you could maybe assign for
Sure.
to the foundation under certain circumstances. I think maybe make those distinctions as you clean up.
yeah, I think I think we can get on the same page on that.
My other question regarding alterations, because I served on the Friends of Des Moines Parks board, so little sensitive to that. I understand if there's a maintenance fund to pay for improvements and maintenance to the structure, that Des Moines Waterworks is responsible to continue to do that and not to alter or modify or remove the curia. But if the maintenance fund is not sufficient, if any type of repair or maintenance is excessive to what is remaining in that maintenance fund, is there an opportunity for, will it be able to do anything, or will that still be a negotiation between the Stowe Foundation and the artist?
So I think the way the maintenance fund agreement is drafted in Exhibit D, there's at least every 5 years a meeting to discuss what the needs of the maintenance fund would be. So, if there needed to be $100,000 improvement and there was $50,000 left, I think under D, that would be discussed. And I think the Stowe Foundation would have an opportunity to fundraise to fund that. Amy, is that your understanding?
Yeah, and if we didn't, our thought was at that point in time, then it's purely in the discretion of Des Moines Waterworks what happens to water curia at that point.
Yeah, if it needs $100,000 improvement, we have $25,000 left in the maintenance fund. I view that as exhausted.
Right.
And therefore we would have the ability, if we needed to remove it because it was danger or something was falling down. But if, what we wouldn't be able to do is while it's standing there, put a roof on it or something like that.
Yeah, that was the
that
concern.
makes sense. But does this maintenance fund agreement does this agreement that Des Moines Waterworks would have with the Stowe Foundation also satisfy the artist? The artist isn't privy to this 2080 agreement and that component, but they are included in that bill of sale pretty much.
So they are party to the agreement as to Section 5. Their signature block, Jordan Weber's signature block, binds him as to Section 5 of the agreement.
Page 22.
So the exhaustion component,
No, it's okay.
so
Yeah.
the provision dealing with the exhaustion
Okay.
would apply. And as drafted, if the foundation ceases, he's agreeing that if the foundation ceases to exist, then we are permitted to modify and remove.
Okay.
So,
I see. There. Yep.
so his rights to, kind of consent to those modifications are contingent on the foundation existing and being able to fund the maintenance fund, as I see how it's drafted.
Thank you. My question.
On the maintenance plan from Numinous listed specific vendors for certain scopes. My understanding was that Waterworks would be doing the landscaping work for it. Are these vendors just included as sort of conceptual as they were doing their estimating?
Yeah, I think that's probably the catch-all, kind of a catch-all, just in case there's anything special that's needed.
Okay.
I guess if the question is whether they could specify vendors, if we're talking about donated funds, then it is possible to, avoid all the bidding requirements and everything and go directly with a vendor, if that was what was intended, or if it's just a placeholder, because that's where they got the quote, that's fine too.
I think it's the latter, right?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
And though that said, we have been working real closely with Jessica and others concerning particularly the plantings and those things that
Yeah.
are going to need a lot of the maintenance.
Yeah,
so.
vetting these numbers.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So we talked about one modification or approving pending, do we need a different motion on that then?
I think if you want the motion amended to include the modification discussed here, somebody should ask for that.
Ask by making a new motion.
Or just ask that the previous motion be amended to include the modification as section.
I would ask that the previous motion be amended to include legal counsel assisting in the clarification of Article 2, Item 2 regarding license.
I'll move.
Second.
Do we do it all right, John?
I think so. I think
Okay,
the minutes will reflect the appropriate action being taken.
thanks, everybody. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Amy.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for joining us.
We will now move on to our Central Iowa Waterworks agenda items, which is starting with number A. Item A, 2025, multiple facilities, safety showers and tempering.
This is a public hearing.
Of course it is. All right, so I will now open the public hearing for comments from the public regarding the form of contract plans and specifications and estimated cost.
We have received no written or oral comments.
Seeing no one in the room, I will close the hearing and seek a motion for the adoption of form of contract plans and specifications and estimated cost.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, move to the analysis.
Thank you. This project includes the upgrade and replacement of emergency eye wash and safety showers at the Fluor Drive and McMullen water treatment plants to comply with current safety protocol, particularly related to the temperature of water. We received two bids, Waldinger for $422,015 and All Iowa Mechanical for $546,300. The engineer's estimate was a little below both of those bids at $410,000. Waldinger submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid. Staff recommends the board award this project to Waldinger in the amount of $422,015.
Can I have a motion to award the 2025 multiple facilities safety showers and tempering contract to the Waldinger Corporation in the amount of $422,015 and authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the contract?
So moved.
Second.
Have any questions on my end?
expensive showers, but they don't have any questions.
Okay, can I, all in favor then?
I,
Okay. We'll move on to the 2026 Blue Drive Water Treatment Plant Control Room upgrade.
Also a public hearing. Gonna be master.
All right, so I will now open the public hearing for comments from the public regarding the form of contract plans and specifications and estimated costs.
We have received no written or oral comments from the public.
I don't think we have anyone in the room or online on this one as well. So I will close the public hearing and seek a motion for adoption of form of contract plans and specifications and estimated costs.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The control room at the Fluid Drive treatment plant is really the command and monitoring center for the 3 treatment plants that Des Moines Water Works operates on behalf of Central Iowa Water Works and remote facilities. Requires an upgrade of the control center console, control system upgrades, and other related work. We received 2 bids for this project, which included alternates for a specific brand of controls, which makes the system easier to operate. Woodruff, the bid with the alternate is $365,583. Edge Commercial, the bid with the alternate is $377,450. The engineer's estimate was $408,000. So again, good bids compared to the engineer's estimate. Staff recommends the board award this project to Woodruff in the amount of $365,583 with the alternate.
Can I have a motion to award the 2026 Blue Drive Water Treatment Plant Control Room upgrade contract in the amount of $365,583 to Woodruff Construction and authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the contract?
so moved.
Second. Questions for me?
Okay, yeah. You're a good one with lower bids. So we'll start with- All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Quite a bit like Alec Trebek. I'm just, you sound like Alec Trebek, you're announcing
Huh, maybe there's some
Name.
deep-seated Alec
Yeah.
legion that I don't subconsciously, yeah. All right, item C is the lease license agreement for the rights to farm land at Moffett Reservoir.
Thank you. The 1,500 acres of property at Moffett Reservoir and the surrounding land, once owned by Des Moines Water Works, is now owned by Central Iowa Water Works for watershed protection. Des Moines Water Works continues to manage that property on behalf of Central Iowa Water Works. There are about 90 acres available for row crops using cover crop practices. We have leased these acres in the past through a public bidding process, and the rights to farm that land has been awarded to Vernon and Kelly Flynn. The Flynns have demonstrated strong stewardship of the land, which of course is important to us, and have implemented conservation practices, including cover crops and prairie strips. They've done that for over a decade. Based on the good care that they take of the land, Des Moines Water Works and Central Iowa Water Works believe the agreement should be continued with the Flynns at a rate of $285 an acre for the years 2026, 27, and 2028. And actually, those are crop seasons, less the cost of the conservation practices. This rate of $285 per acre is consistent with regional and statewide rates. The annual cash rent will be paid to Des Moines Water Works, and we will offset this revenue against Central Iowa Water Works operating expenses, which effectively attributes that revenue to Central Iowa Water Works since they are the property owner. The Central Iowa Water Works Board will consider this agreement as well for approval at their meeting tomorrow. We recommend approval of this agreement by this board.
I have a motion to authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the limited and non-exclusive license agreement for the right to farm Des Moines Waterworks agricultural land.
So moved.
Second.
This map. What's going on here? I know nobody can see that except for Amy. But, to the north there. The area that
Above the dip.
above the dip that looks like it's being cropped south of the river. Who, is that our property? Are the parcels just not lining up completely? Should it be moved up a little bit further?
Kind of where that neckline is, you know,
There at the top there, the
Yeah.
top left.
where it's like this.
Yeah, and Jess is on, so Jess, if I'm misstating, I believe we did some tree planting in that area, but they also mow some of that area. Jess, can you clarify?
Sure. It's like a grass, there are some trees, but it's a grass buffer strip. So it's mowed, but essentially it's a buffer strip between the tillable acres and the river.
That's I wanted to make sure that that wasn't actually being popped right up there to against the river just about. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Jess.
And do we know, I guess, in years past, how much the conservation practices have cost or have been deducted from the rent that they pay?
Jess, do you know off the top of your head what those conservation practices have cost? So what would be the net payment Des Moines Waterworks or Central Iowa Waterworks will receive?
Sure. So I looked up the last couple of years. In 2022, the cover crop, and they do vary a little bit depending on the price of seed. In 2022, the cost was approximately $3,300. In 23, it was around $3,200. And then in 24 and 25, those rental years, Vernon did not charge us for the cover crop, so he paid the full amount of rent. So it does vary a little bit, but typically around $3,000-4,000 each year.
So we're still netting over, or
Mhm.
Central Iowa Waterworks is netting over 20,000.
Yeah.
Is this a 10-year license that is up for renewal? Why is it coming to us now?
This agreement is 3 years. I believe it's always been 3 years.
They saw 2010 and 2016 in here.
I think it was also, I saw reference to 2023 prior to the 2023 crop season. I think it
If
was
we-
trying to lay out the history of it.
Yeah, if we lease land for more than 3 years, we have to have a public hearing. And so I think the idea has been, as I understand it, we've always ever done it as 3-year terms, so.
So you mentioned this is going to Tribal Waterworks as well. I guess my question is, if this is now CIWW property, why is it coming to us? Wouldn't it just go to them?
We still manage the property as the contract operator, and we have the relationship
Okay.
with the Flynn's, and it's easy enough for us to receive the payments as we always have and just net that or offset that against the expenses that we ask for reimbursement.
The agreements actually provide, we just net it against reimbursements from CIWW, so.
Okay. If there are no further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Okay, and related, item D, license agreement for the rights to harvest grass hay at Moffett Reservoir.
Similar to the previous action, but in this case to harvest hay on about 65 acres of land near Moffett. This was just as the other agreement, publicly bid in the past and was awarded to the Flynn's. Des Moines Waterworks and Central Iowa Waterworks believe the agreement should be continued with the Flynn's for this as well at an annual rate of $147 an acre for the 26, 27, and 28 crop seasons. And again, that rate, we've looked at the statewide market. It's consistent with what we find out there. based on the mapping and serial images that, or aerial images rather, that you'll find in your packet, we believe that the acreage that they would be using for hay ground is about 65 acres. But we're still trying to verify that with the Flynn's and we'll do some GPS measurements just to be sure. Somewhere, is it 50 to 65? And so that we'll still do that, but the annual cash rent will be paid on actual acreage determined and will be paid again to Des Moines Waterworks on behalf of Central Iowa Waterworks. And we will offset that revenue against their operating expenses. The Central Iowa Waterworks Board will also consider this agreement for approval at their board. So we recommend approval by this board.
Can I have a motion to authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the limited and non-exclusive license agreement for the right to farm Des Moines Waterworks agricultural land?
So moved.
Second. Other than the rate, are there any other substantial changes to the lease?
I don't believe there are, other than to incorporate references to Central Iowa Waterworks or administrative or Scrivener
Sure.
errors or updates.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item E is the request authorization to solicit bids for 2026 Des Moines Waterworks SCADA backbone improvements and establish the date of the public hearing as the date of the April 2026 board meeting.
SCADA is an acronym for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. It's a term that we use every day. We rely heavily on this system to monitor, control, and operate critical water facilities on behalf of Central Iowa Waterworks and also our own remote facilities. The system needs updating and improved primarily to reduce risk related to cybersecurity, but also reliability, redundancy, and resiliency. So essentially, we have two systems: IT, which is largely business related, connected to internet and so forth, and then OT. You hear those terms often: IT, OT. OT is operational technologies, and that system has control over pumps and valves and other similar equipment. So it's important that those two systems remain separately and secure, so that if an employee that is using the IT system is compromised, like through a phishing attempt, that there isn't a path to that critical operational system. So this project, is really acting as making sure that it fortifies that system, and so there's a buffer between the IT and the OT systems. We are seeking permission to solicit bids for this project and set the date of the public hearing as the April board meeting.
All right, can I have a motion to authorize state staff to solicit bids for the 2026 Des Moines Waterworks SCADA backbone improvement project, establish the date of the public hearing as the date of the April 2026 board meeting, and direct staff to publish notice as provided by law?
So moved.
Second.
If I could make a suggestion to the action that's taken on this one, talking before the meeting, my understanding is that there is some sensitivity associated with the specifications for this project. And so if, when authorizing the solicitation of bids, if the board could clarify that staff are permitted to maintain the confidentiality of the specifications and only provide those to responsible bidders, that would, I think, give us the flexibility to ensure that we don't pass around specifications for this type of project to, people that don't really have a need for it, maintain some control over it. So if that's acceptable, then we would just need somebody to move to amend the bid to give staff the discretion to ensure that bidders that receive this specification are qualified and responsible bidders.
I'll modify my motion to include those provisions as outlined by council.
Do we need another step?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, John. Any other questions or comments on this one?
One quick question. When's the last time we've made any improvements or updated our SCADA system?
Want me to answer that? We're constantly updating our SCADA system. It's constantly a work in progress. This particular project is related to the cybersecurity aspect, reinforcing our protection from the outside.
Issuing in the specifications to prospective bidders, how will we vet who is deemed as responsible, I guess?
There is some qualifications in the specifications on, so we were thinking maybe of just like having them provide that before we send them the plans.
Okay.
So demonstrate they meet
Yeah,
those specifications.
That demonstrate they meet the clause that are already outlined, but that way that they're qualified.
What sort of vendors, contractors would submit for something like this?
Like control integrators and things like that.
Are is the specifications legally confidential?
I think they could be. And so, you know, if like we received an open records request for this, I think after reviewing, based on my understanding of what they are and the systems they relate to, I think in the past, we've taken the position that they are confidential records under Chapter 22. So, yeah, it's not the kind of thing that we would want to publish on the website.
Right.
Seeing nodding heads from staff. So.
I'm just thinking if a contractor challenged whether or not they met qualifications or anything like that.
Anything else? Yes, all in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? Passes. We'll move on to item, that was E, right? All right, we are on item F, review request for authorization for CEO and general manager to execute professional services agreement with CDM Smith Incorporated for the Fluid Dry Water Treatment Plant lime sludge filter press replacement design services.
As you know, the Fluid Drive treatment plant uses lime softening as part of its treatment process. This process includes or produces sludge that is piped to a facility that we know and call the lime sludge dewatering building. The lime sludge dewatering process presses lime into, you might recall from tours you've taken, we call them lime cakes, and drops them into trucks. And then that is land applied. This existing dewatering system is over 30 years old and is experiencing its age. Last September, CDM Smith assessed the facility, and the recommendation was to replace those filter presses with new presses and do some other work that would be related, like restore piping and so forth. Replace the floor. Staff recommends a service agreement with CDM Smith in the amount of $1,297,000 for the design of the Fluid Dry Water Treatment Plant filter press. And we did talk with the Central Iowa Waterworks Technical Committee about this project last week at the meeting. And so they are aware.
I have a motion to authorize the CEO and general manager to execute a professional services agreement with CDM Smith Incorporated in the amount of $1,297,900 for the Fluid Drive Water Treatment Plant lime sludge filter press replacement design services.
Second.
So this is just the design, then we'll have to take bids for the actual work.
Do you have any comment, Lindsay, on why, this design in particular is over $1 million?
The project budget is about 16 million, so this is 8%, so that's pretty reasonable for a design contract. But yes, it's a lot, but it's expensive to replace the filter presses.
That is the 30 years kind of right? What the expected
Expected
lifetime would have
I
been?
think 30
Maybe a
is
little
pretty
beyond.
good run.
Maybe
Lindsay, can you remind me, did we do an RFP for the assessment that CDM Smith was selected for, or an RFP for this design contract?
Well, typically what we do is we'll do it before they start. We'll do the RFQ to get the qualified, hire them to do the assessment. And then if they're doing a good job, we will continue with them for design. So we did not do an RFQ this time. It's a continuation of that. But basically we looked at options of like repairing the filter presses, replacing, or actually using new technology, centrifuges. Just didn't get the solids removal moisture removal. So, yeah.
And the RFQ for the assessment did not include any fees.
The RFQ, when we do the scope and fee to do the assessment, we would have negotiated that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No other questions? Let's take a look. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will move on to our final agenda item for today. The request authorization for CEO and general manager to execute amendment number 5 to the professional services agreement with HDR Engineering Incorporated for Saylorville Water Treatment Plant 10 MGD capacity expansion design and construction services.
This is another significant and meaningful project for Des Moines Waterworks and ultimately Central Iowa Waterworks. As you know, Central Iowa Waterworks is expanding the Saylorville Water Treatment Plant, expanding it 10 million gallons a day to add capacity to the regional water system. This plant, of course, was previously owned by Des Moines Waterworks, and we are continuing to manage the contracts that were awarded in our name prior to the commencement of Central Iowa Waterworks. This underlying contract for design and construction services is with HDR. As outlined in your board memo, the project has had 4 amendments to date. This action this evening is requesting approval for a 5th amendment that totals $177,474 for an environmental assessment, a limited phase 2 environmental field site assessment and reporting related to proposed water supply well locations for the expansion. If this amendment is authorized, it will bring the cost of services with HDR for this contract to $14,248,451, which includes all 5 of those amendments. It was originally just under $13 million. This too was discussed with the CIWW Technical Committee last week. We request authorization of this amendment with HDR for $177,474.
I have a motion to authorize the CEO and general manager to execute amendment number 5 to the professional services agreement with HDR Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $177,474 for the Saylorville Water Treatment Plant and MGD capacity expansion project.
So moved.
Second. Do we budget contingency dollars for design services like this? Or does this come out of another bucket?
Design does have contingency,
Okay.
yes.
Do we ever seek funding from the DNR for the environmental site assessment support?
I don't know.
This, if you remember last month, we brought that well drilling for this site assessment. There was those 6 kind of hazardous areas that we had identified. I guess moderate, high hazards, the dry cleaning, the C&D landfill. Remember those 6 different sites? This is really hiring HDR to help us with the analysis of the samples for soil and water, as well as to kind of analyze and help us with the siting of the, if they have to move anything, if we find a plume or something. So it's really not driven by the DNR per se, it's more by previous land use You know what I mean?
But DNR through their brownfields programs will provide funding for entity, not, I know they provide not nonprofits, probably also government entities to pay HDR for those services. I don't know.
It's not aware.
I don't know how altogether how much they would cover. They're probably not going to cover $177,000 worth, but I know they covered our entire phase 1 site assessment on a former quarry, and would be willing to have provided us some funding for phase 2 assessment had we chosen to continue to pursue that property.
We can research that.
So if they find anything there, will there be, then would you think about relocation of the well or?
Yeah, it will help with the
remediation, or-
siting of, yeah. Yeah, we don't want to invest a bunch of money, drilling a well and then we have something that's coming towards it. So we would have to figure out what we need to do there.
Lindsay, has Trout completed their field work?
Not yet. They're
Testing.
planning to start, I think, early March.
Any other questions? We'll go to a vote then. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item G passes, and that is our final item for tonight on the board agenda. So we'll move on to committee reports. Finance and audit.
Yes, that's me. So few things to pull out for the group. So Kelly and team made some updates to the financial statements, which were reflected at least as a work in progress in this packet. So I know I was appreciative of the updates, especially the budget comparison month to date was very, very helpful and a nice improvement. So thank you for that. We had a discussion about the policy for CO expenditures over $50,000. The ask from the board was for staff to come back with some proposed revised language for the board to consider in an upcoming finance and audit committee meeting. Our finance hot topic was about pennies and how the U.S. Mint is no longer going to be putting those out, and our policy will be that the bills will be rounded up, and then the credit will be an overpayment on customers' account, which is consistent with how other utilities are handling it throughout the country. And then just wanted to pass along congratulations to Donna for her promotion to Assistant Director of Finance. So congratulations, Donna. That's it for me.
Planning committee, which I know Emily is not here today, but
I can take a stab, but I would definitely direct.
it was an easy.
Summarize for it.
Easy topic. Please. Matt.
Direct people to pay well. But it was a very interesting discussion on capacity allocation and kind of a recalculation on what our capacity allocation would need to be, thinking through our long-range planning efforts and our I'm not going to try to explain the buffer capacity requirements, but just realizing that we needed to do some recalculations on our capacity and share those with Central Iowa Waterworks to make sure that we are planning for the future appropriately. And I am wondering if you will touch on the water quality piece of the meeting where we kind of reviewed what the nitrate levels currently were and how things were looking as of February 10th.
Yes, I will touch on that in my CEO comments.
Great. Yeah. And defer to Kyle or anybody else, because I'm pretty sure we were all on that, just about all of us were on that meeting.
Yeah, I will just add that Kyle stepped through, high level, how Des Moines Waterworks staff got to our capacity allocation request to submit to Central Iowa Waterworks. We submitted a request that goes through 2050 of 9 million gallons to about 12 million gallons, somewhere in that range. And the expansion that is currently being looked at for the West plant and the Grimes plant or expansion, we know is what we're calling over allocated, meaning there were more capacity requests than is available. Available is about 15.3 million gallons between those two, and members requested a little bit more than that. So there's been a group that has determined how are we going to pro rata now allocate everyone's slice of the pie. And so I think further discussions and probably actions on that will be made by Central Iowa Water Works. But our team was satisfied with the alternatives that are being considered by Central Iowa Water Works in terms of what our capacity will be in that West and Grimes plant. So there's talk about maybe needing that 25 MGD plant for Saylorville 2.0, as we call it, the separate plant, based on the requests. Looks like that maybe should be moved up in terms of when we would need to start looking at that. So big decisions, big dollars in our near future.
I can't give the sugarcoat gloss over version. You really?
I go right to it.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know.
Thank you both of you. All right, we'll go to board membership reports for Central Iowa Water Works Board.
Do a follow on what Amy has been talking about. I'll start with the allocation. There's been a lot of work on that. The consultant has met with every single one of the members to make sure that there's consistency in how they're looking, what they need.
And this is the shortage in allocations is the required buffer allocation, if I remember correctly. So it's the protection.
Well, I'm not sure. The required is 15%. And I don't know if the shortfall is in that 15%. I don't think there's, and from what I've heard from the engineers, there's no appetite to messing with that 15%. So,
but the 15%, it would be like a contingency. It's not that we see it, that 15% used annually. It's there for
Operational.
yeah,
operational contingency.
I'll let
Or
Okay.
water
Lindsay,
quality issues or maintenance issues and breakdowns and things like that.
Okay.
We like to call nameplate capacity, and you have firm capacity. Okay, so firm plus the buffer would be your nameplate, if that makes it easier
Right.
to understand. But our firm is what we can actually produce, right? So if we don't have that buffer or that 15%, then we might have to call the water shortage plan more often because we can't meet the
Sure.
demands. So it's really necessary, not really discretionary.
Right.
and that's an industry standard. I think all the different utilities have. I know on the electricity side, there's a buffer there, a reserve.
Yeah, because you can't really run 100% nameplate all the time.
Right.
And our team, I think it's important to note, does not believe that 15% is too much. I feel like that is
Do we feel like we should have
acceptable.
more?
So this month, all of the members have, been notified of the allocation and the different methods for making those allocations. And I think there was a small group that was put together and spent a lot of time on, what was it, 5 different approaches
Yeah.
to it. And came up with the recommendation. So we'll take a month And everybody can ask their questions about what does this mean? What does this mean for us? And then I think that it will be on the agenda in the March meeting. And then we intend, I think, to have a workshop and really spend time talking about what does this mean? What are the implications of this for the future? And I think that will get into what does that mean for the next Saylorville?
Right.
And I'm hoping that that also will get into discussion of what opportunities we have for demand management, because I don't think that that is an option that was considered in the allocations.
So, I guess into clarification, remind me, I know that CIWW has their water shortage plan and all members act on that water shortage plan, but individually, each community also has a water shortage plan, or is it all or nothing?
It's all the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
Shortage plan, and they may change the name to something like water use.
Yeah, when you signed on as a CIWW member, you agreed to be bound by the water. It's called the water shortage.
Okay, so if one community outuses its capacity for whatever reason, it would cause all of us to go into a water shortage plan, not just that one community.
Not necessarily. I think if someone exceeds their capacity, that is separate from the water shortage plan. A
And there
member
are
may exceed their
penalties.
capacity,
Yeah.
allocated capacity, and we are not in water shortage. They just exceed their allocated capacity. But if the water shortage plan is implemented, all members are expected to follow and, follow the same actions, do the same messaging, similar communications. What is different between communities is enforcement, meaning the consequences for our retail customers not following our messaging or following our required actions, if it's mandatory, for example, will vary, or at least they do right now, by community.
But if there's a community, let's say that it has all kinds of irrigation, irrigate everything, millions of golf courses and whatever have you, would they, and they're about to exceed and they want to prevent penalty, could they put in restrictions individually, or do they could?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that ours is the
Demand management.
minimum, but there are demand management things
Okay.
that they can do beyond that. And I think that will be community by community as to how important that is to them. Because looking to manage demand on irrigation in Des Moines is a very different thing than it is.
Right. I mean, ultimately, that's my question.
Yeah.
Do individual entities still retain the authority to manage demand on their own without having to act within the Central Iowa playbook?
There are minimum things that you agree to do as a member of CIWW, but above and beyond that, when we look at the water usage committee, we're a best practices committee because each of the distribution utilities retain the right to deal with their customers and how they want to implement those things. We're hoping that we'll have some uniform messaging. One of the things that we hope to start, next month is starting to talk about those best practices and to put out communications that the different communities can use on best practices on looking at your irrigation systems. And just like you have your furnace service, looking at having your irrigation system serviced and those kinds of things. So, but the ability to do that and adoption of that remains at that distribution.
Okay, thank you.
Another thing I talked about the allocation is the after action review, and some of the things that we're talking about here are in that review. That was a pretty exhaustive review. It will result in probably some changes, more specificity in the water shortage plan and how we communicate things. We wanted to get everything for the summer season is on it. So it was taking, we learned and talking to a lot of people. And I think we'll be in a much better position for last year.
Diane, can you speak to the governance
Yeah.
related to the water fund?
Yeah, so there were some questions about who has the right to call the events. And should it be the board? Should it be the technical committee? There's different discussions. The technical committees say, well, the operators have standards that they're required to meet as operators. Yet there's been a lot of concern from elected officials about people who are not elected making a decision like that. So we will have a recommendation. I don't think I should probably talk about that here. It should be made to CIWW first, but we did meet last week and we will come up with a recommendation on how that should work. Another piece of that was, talking about what if somebody doesn't comply? What do we do? So we realized after last year that there were no provisions for coming and asking for a waiver based on your situation. So we talked about that, and then we talked about what kind of penalties if you don't request a waiver, or if you request a waiver and it's denied. What are consequences that could be put in place? So those are the things that the governance committee talked about, and we'll have recommendations to the full board on how we can manage those things. That's tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow at 3. So did I miss anything, Amy? There's a lot
going on. I know there's a lot of work by the communication
Yeah,
teams of each member, and they're getting things
ready
Yep.
and set. And maybe when you'll talk about the legislative updates, those things that were released from both CIWW and Des Moines Water Works, and with the funnel, which things are still.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
I'll speak to that.
Yeah.
High level.
Yeah, so thank you, Diane. David's got a hard stop at 5. Not that we're on anything that we need quorum for or anything, but just FYI, we'll have to leave. So next would be Waterworks Park Foundation.
I'll keep it brief because I was unable to attend that meeting, so I will point you to the notes provided in your packet. I know that they're launching into a busy summer season and lining themselves off to get things really kicked off this spring. Beyond that, I'll defer to Pat as the other representative.
I'll keep it brief too. We are expanding the cultural series and kind of a new arts partnership. So Music Under the Stars will be returning, and we'll be doing a partnership with the Des Moines Community Playhouse and the Des Moines Opera for a couple events. And also we'll be launching the Shields Outdoor Adventure series. So that's Shields, the department store, will be providing some events in the park, related to different products and stuff they sell, like biking and that type of thing. And we'll include some in-store signage and stuff for the Park Foundation and Des Moines Waterworks Park at Shields. So that will start in April.
Great. Thanks, Pat. All right, Amy.
Okay, I would like to give a brief water quality update. Got good news, bad news. The good news is today and really for the last couple of days, all water sources at the Fluor Drive plant have been lower than 10 milligrams per liter, which is the safe drinking water standard. And the nitrate removal facility is operating at 3 vessels. So it has come down. The bad news is that Nathan has shared, we haven't turned the facility off because nitrates in the rivers look like they are going up. And so we anticipate it will continue to be needed very soon. So again, Nathan's team always closely monitors, the source water we continue to test and sample during the process. But it's a bit of a whiplash with water quality. Legislatively, the first funnel was last Friday. And that, of course, is the date when a bill has to have passed out of a committee to stay alive. Lots of bills were introduced this session. Many died as of last Friday because they didn't make that funnel requirement of making it through a committee. Our funding for the water quality monitoring system, you might recall that was our number one priority, legislative or policy priority, and also Central Iowa Water Works had a similar. That has not yet been discussed. It's more appropriations or budgetary. So more to come on that. We don't really have anything to report on that. There remain several bills related to public records, open meetings, and looking through those, most of those are practices that we do just as a matter of practice. And so no huge concern with any of those open meeting type bills. There is one bill that we're engaged with and carefully monitoring related to the collections and or notification of landlord tenant bills. Thanks to Laura for representing Des Moines Water Works recently at the Capitol at a committee hearing to speak on our behalf. After her comments, we were successful in incorporating some additional bill language that would make that more palatable to us. However, we are still registered as undecided. We would prefer not to have any change, frankly, to Iowa code there. A groundwater monitoring bill was something that, at least that topic was something that Des Moines Water Works supports, although we don't have a priority related to that specifically, but Central Iowa Water Works did have. And that was referred to appropriations as well. So hopefully more to come on that. We are still actively monitoring with the support of advocacy strategies. We basically log into a system every day and review what new has developed and register our position on it. So many we are undecided or tracking. But as we learn more about the language and it becomes more tight, we will start registering for and against a little more. The last thing that I will mention is thanks to Lindsay for really spearheading a team that has evaluated responses to an RFQ or RFP for the bridge. RFQ, Bill Riley Bridge, this is something we talk a lot about, and there's been some discussions with the city. We own, Des Moines Water Works owns that bridge, and there's some interest in replacing it. So there was a representative from the city, the Park Foundation, the executive director was on the project team, and then several from Des Moines Water Works. That's okay to announce. You got that right. The committee selected Snyder to do that feasibility conceptual study of what type of a bridge could be constructed, kind of a utilitarian, just get you across, a medium signature. And so Snyder will be working on that, and we'll have more to share.
What's the timeline on getting that work?
The phase one is September, I believe, was what Snyder proposed, but we did have lots of interest. We had 10 proposals.
Wow.
A lot of interest. A lot of qualified people.
Snyder did the high trestle bridge and a lot of really cool bridges. We're in good hands, I think. Thank you for staying.
Thank you, David.
I will end it there since I'm starting to lose people.
Right. Anything else?
One more
Anything to
thing,
touch on?
one more thing, because the safety update was good, so I would direct your attention to that. Just real quickly, we talked, I think I mentioned at some meeting about the main break on Park Avenue and during that really cold snap and really late at night, it was just after midnight, a car drove through the arrow board, and there's a picture of that car in the board packet under Dylan's safety update, which I appreciated, and it gives the details of that. So this is something work zone safety, traffic control, something that we're talking a lot about. What can we do to better protect the employees? They do a really nice job, frankly, of being proactive and ensuring that they have heavy equipment parked around the work zone in a way that protects them. But it's getting worse, frankly, with the traveling public, and it's something that is concerning for me, for our employee safety.
Yeah, what was the root cause? Was this distracted driver or
Impaired.
impaired? I wondered, given the time.
Yeah. So
And we had crews actively out there working at the
We did.
time.
we did. And that, it was a long day, very cold day, exhausted, and then that happens. So I just wanted to raise that this is a real risk to our team, and we're working on it.
The equipment.
Yeah, definitely
It's important.
better than people. Now I really will.
Anything else? I think I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, there we go.
We decided last time that we do take motions to adjourn, which is who's going to vote no?
That's how the board's ever always been on it. So it's like, yeah, motion to adjourn. Okay, bye. And it's- What's the point of the motion?